This video is going to teach you about figuring out which numbers are multiples of various different numbers um, with some sort of tips and tricks. So I'm going to type multiples up here at the top because the question that you'll be asked is to find all the numbers that are multiples of 2, or all the numbers that are multiples of 3, or 5, or 10. One way you can do it is to divide those numbers by 2, or 3, or 5, or 10. But that seems like an awful lot of work. And if you know some of these tips and tricks, then you can do it a little bit more quickly. I sent you a paper, and I'm going to go over a few of them today, a few of them tomorrow. That way, you can practice with a few of them. You don't have to do them all at once. So, if we want to know if a number is a multiple of 2, we can tell if the number is 0. If the number is even. And so we know that even numbers have 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8 in the ones place. So we look at 14. 14 is even. Is 14 going to be a multiple of 2? Yes, because you can multiply 2 times 7 in order to get 14. So 14 is a multiple of 2. So we would circle this one for 2. Let's look at 25. Is 25 a multiple of 2? Well, it's not an even number. We cannot divide it into 2 equal groups. So 25 will not be a multiple of 2. 340, could that be a multiple of 2? It's got a 0 in the ones place, so that means it's an even number. We could divide this into 2 equal groups. So 340 is a multiple of 2. So you would want to circle that. 78. What do you think? Is it a multiple of 2? Well, it has an 8 in the ones column, so yes, it is a multiple of 2. It's an even number. We could divide it into 2 equal groups. 95. Is 95 a multiple of 2? It is not even. It has a 5 in the ones column, so it will not be a multiple of 2. What about 165? Again, it ends with a 5, which is not an even number, so it will not be a multiple of 2. And 861, will this be a multiple of 2? It will not, because it ends with a 1, which is an odd number, so that means the whole number is odd. So that's the trick that we use, or the strategy that we use when we're trying to decide if a number is a multiple of 2. Well, there's a similar trick for 5 and for 10. I'm going to skip 3 for just a minute. For 5, a number will be a multiple of 5 if it ends with a 5. I'm going to put 2 out here. And down here, I'm going to put 5. If a number has 5 or 0 in the ones place, then it will be a multiple of 5. So let's look at 14. It's got a 4 in the ones place. We could not break 14 into 5 equal groups. So 14 will not be a multiple of 5. What about 25? It ends with a 5, and we know that 5 times 5 equals 25. So yes, indeed, 25 is a multiple of 5. What about 340? Well, it ends with a 0, so we could safely say that 340 is a multiple of 5 because it ends with 0. What about 78? It does not have a 0 or a 5 in the ones place, so 78 will not work as a multiple of 5. What about 95? It has a 5 at the end, so yes, indeed, give that a check mark. Check mark. This will be a multiple of 5. What about 165? Again, it has a 5 in the ones place, so yes, check mark. It is a multiple of 5. What about 861? It does not have a 0 or a 5 in the ones place, so X that one out. It is not a multiple of 5. So we're going to try 10 next. A number that has a 0 in the ones place will be a multiple of 10. So let's look at our samples here. 14. Will 14 be a multiple of 10? No, there's nothing we can multiply by 10 to get 14. That does not work. There's not a 0 here, so that will not work. What about 25? Does not have a 0 in the ones place, so nope. 25 will not be a multiple of 10. What about 340? Will that be a multiple of 10? It does have a 0 in the ones place, so that will work. And here's a bonus question. What times 10 equals 340? Did you say 34? I hope so. If you did, you're right. All right, what about 78? 78, will that be a multiple of 10? It does not have a 0 in the ones place, so no, it won't. What about 95? Is that a multiple of 10? Does not have a 0 in the ones place, so no, can't be a multiple of 10. What about 165? Does not have a 0 in the ones place, so it will not work. And 861, again, won't work because it doesn't have a 1, or excuse me, it doesn't have a 0 in the ones place. So this is the only number out of this whole column that will be a multiple of 10. So these are pretty standard and pretty quick to learn. However, 3, I think 3 has a fun little trick. Something is a multiple of 3 if you can add the digits and the answer is divisible by 3. Now, what does that mean? Okay, let me show you. I think this is the most fun little trick. So, if we take this number right here, its digits are 1 and 4. If we add 1 plus 4, what do we get? We get 5. 1 plus 4 equals 5. Will 3 go into 5 equally without having a remainder? It will not. So 3 also will not go into 14. And you can probably figure that one out in your head because 3 times 4 is 12 and 3 times 5 is 15. So you know 14 isn't going to work. But sometimes when we get into larger numbers, it's tricky unless you do a multiplication problem, or I'm sorry, a division problem. So will 25 be a multiple of 3? Can you multiply 3 by anything and get 25? You probably know in your head you cannot do that because 3 times 8 is 24 and 3 times 9 is 27. You're never going to be able to get 25. And to do our little trick, what is 2 plus 5? Well, it is 7, and Will 3 go into 7 equally without a remainder? It will not. So it won't work for 25. So let's try 340. Now, this is a bigger number that our math facts are not going to help us so much with. So let's add up the digits. 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 0 is 7. And will 3 go into 7 equally without a remainder? It won't. So it will not work for 340. What about 78? Let's add up the two digits. 7 plus 8 is 15. Will 3 go into 15 an equal number of times without having a remainder? It will. It'll go in 5 times. There won't be any remainder. And so 3 will go into 78. And if you want to get out your calculator and check that, you can say that 78 divided by 3 will be 26. So 78 will be a multiple of 3. So you could circle this one for 3. Let's go over here to 95. We're going to add up our two digits. What's 9 plus 5? 14. Will 3 go into 14 equally without having a remainder? It will not. So 95 will not be a multiple of 3. What about 165? Let's add up these digits. 1 plus 6 is 7, and 7 plus 5 is 12. Will 3 go into 12 equally without having a remainder? Yes, it will. It would go in 4 times. So that means that 165 will be a multiple of 3. Now, I don't know why this trick works, but it does, and I think it's fun. So let's look at our next number, 861. Is it a multiple of 3? What is 8 plus 6? 14 plus 1 is 15. Will 3 go into 15 equally without a remainder? It sure will. We'll go in 5 times. So that means 861 is a multiple of 3. And if we got out our calculator and did 861 divided by 3, we would come up with 287. So that is a little trick, a little strategy to figure out if if a number is going to be a multiple of 3. So I hope that helps you with your paper.